Alright everybody, welcome back to a brand new video. Today we're here responding to a comment here who, hilariously enough, they did write an entire essay in the sort of chat here. Well, I guess not the chat, but in the comment section. So I wanted to kind of jump in and sort of respond to this a little bit. And I'm going to move myself over so you guys can read it for yourself if you'd like. But obviously I'm going to be over here. I'm going to see how to respond to this. All right, it's a lot. Okay, that's a lot. So I'm going to start from the top and then we'll just take a look here. All right, so we're gonna go from like piece by piece here because it is a very long comment, and we're gonna try to break things down and just try to go over, you know, how we go about doing this. Okay, so anyway, so he says from the very top, it says, just because tier lists say unknown is an objectively mid-tier killer, he's still insanely strong. If you know how to play him, know how the bounces work, and use the teleports efficiently, then he is a beast. And then he proceeds to say that if you're saying that he's not strong, you're just a noob thinking that tier lists are your own personal holy bible or something. So there's a lot wrong with already off the bat. First and foremost, any killer that anybody can have a lot of experience with can essentially make that killer S tier. You could take any killer in the game and apply the same logic, and all of a sudden they're not mid tier anymore, right? Because that person is able to use that killer effectively. But that doesn't necessarily mean that on average, the vast majority of players will look at the ability or maybe use the ability themselves and say, hey, you know, this killer's ability is not very strong. All right, like that's just how that works, right? Take for example, Trapper, right? Let's say we use Quiet Kills as an example. Quiet Kills was using Trapper perkless and was able to make insane plays happen and do extremely well. But say a person like myself, right? If I picked up Trapper, I probably wouldn't be able to do the same thing because I don't have the same knowledge and experience to be able to go, hey, like with Trapper, to go, hey, I think I know where to place these, right? Because it's still at the end of the day, not a character I personally can play, right? Because I play other killers, I play it with a different way. So to me, I will go, okay, well the killer is still pretty like low tier, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the killer becomes higher than the mid or higher than low because one person or a couple people know how to use the character effectively. Because keep in mind that when we're ranking these killers, it's not just based off of just the mains of those characters. We're talking about just in general what the power can do and how that can be applied overall as a generalization in most cases. That's why Blight and Nurse are considered S tier, because in a lot of situations across a lot of MMRs and across a lot of players and across a lot of situations and whatever have you, those killers will remain strong because they're able to apply pressure in different ways. That is just objectively the facts. But if, say, for example, we look at Ghostface, which we could say, hey, look, SK, myself, whatever have you, who plays the character, you can probably have matches that go, yo, that was really good. But that doesn't mean that the character's power is very strong. It doesn't mean that the character itself is able to rise to above or be at the level of Nurse and Blight. It just does not happen. So right off the bat, by saying that this is something that only noobs say, is just telling that you don't know what you're talking about, Chief. Like that, because you literally don't know what you're saying, because you're coming in with bad faith already. Just off of that, like, oh, it's the tier lists are just, you know, what they follow because it's just their own thing, and it's like, no, that's just how it is. There's people with triple like the average amount of hours, like hands and odds, that can literally rank them because they have the hours played and use all the killers to be like, okay, well, no, this killer is definitely stronger than this one, just from them playing the character and learning their ability. That's just how that works. But we use people, like we use those people, like those creators, as a metric to kind of guess where they kind of rank at, because they have the amount of hours and they have the experience to be able to make that estimation. We don't base S tiers off of how strong the character will be in the hands of a main. We base it off of all of those things. So he proceeds to say that he's a Huntress main, which vaguely lets me aim properly with Unknown, but he says that he hasn't played him much. So right off the bat, you just admitted that you don't play Unknown. And then he proceeded to say he feels insanely strong and people usually get demolished. But keep in mind that if you haven't played the killer much, and I know this is going to be crazy to say, I know this is insane, but believe it or not, when you don't play a killer, their MMR doesn't increase. I mean, wow, oh my god, a shock. Everybody like picked their jaws off the floor, because clearly we didn't know that, but you know, this is true. You can also notice this when you start off with a brand new killer like that just came out. You're most likely going to be going against people that are also brand new, because that's how that works. The killers have different MMRs, which I know it's crazy to say. Now, mind you, I don't mean that it's super strict where it's like you can start with baby MMR on one and have that on the other. But what I'm saying is that you can have a really high MMR with one killer specifically because you main them. And then you can have another killer that will maybe not have as high of it, and it will increase faster because of the fact that you already have a killer that's at that MMR. So what it ends up doing is climbing quicker because of that. So obviously, you know, this is probably like some like tinfoil hat stuff, but it's just going off of what I've noticed because I've been playing the game quite a bit. I've noticed it with the killers I've been playing. Like if I'll go from Ghostface, who I have like way more hours on, than say like Hag or whatever have you, I'm going to see a different level of players. Like that's just how that works. I'm just saying from my personal experience, I can speak from what I've seen, and what I'm saying is that you can, and if you want to see me do that on stream, I've done that before. Like you can like if you, I guess because people don't really pay attention to the survivors. But if you do, you'll notice like the levels are very different. Like they have very smart players, and then you go into the next match with a different killer that may not be the same. Anyway. So then they proceed to say that tier list is brain rot, apparently. When thinking from a balancing perspective, they say that the only place where tier list actually matters is an extremely high MMR, which basically doesn't exist. No, that's not true. Because just because it's divided into 3 brackets doesn't mean that the tier list doesn't matter. Like that those two things are two completely different. Like those are two completely different things. Those are not the same things. Like just because they're in brackets doesn't mean that, oh well, you know, now the tier list doesn't matter. High MMR doesn't matter. It's like, no, it's like if you're in that if you're in high MMR, the bracket is there. Like that's just where you go. If you're in low, you're in low. If you're in the average, you're in the average. This is how it works. He says if you look at public matches, you can throw tier lists completely out the window because they mean nothing basically. In terms of winning chances and extend how strong a killer actually is. Well, you can't base a killer's strength off of just random solo queue pubs. Like that's just not how that works. And mind you, like you can't just base that completely off of one match you saw with that one killer. Like you have to take into account the experience level of those killers. Like you, like that doesn't make any sense, bro. Like you, what are you talking about? You have to take into account what their power can do. That's how I know this is crazy to say, but like when you're ranking killers, you're taking into account what their power is capable of doing. For example, Nurse. Why is she S tier? She can go through walls. Like. She can literally ignore tiles, walls, pallets, maps. Like, they can just go through walls. Like, you literally can't beat that in terms of killer powers. Like, there's no other killer that goes through walls to catch you like that. Like, what are you talking about? You know what I mean? Like you look at that and go, well, that completely jumps over everyone's power. That's going to be the strongest. Like that's how that works. He says, take a killer like Trapper. The vast majority of survivors, even myself, when I take my rarely played Survivor games. So he already admits himself that he doesn't play Survivor games, which means that when you're playing on Survivor with no experience, you're gonna have a low MMR. So to say that they occasionally and consistently, which is contradicting, walk into those traps that are blatantly obvious, and you're saying, and now he's like making an assessment that pretty much everybody who plays in pubs are not paying attention, and then says that they're not sweating every action. It's like, yeah, but you just admitted that you're in low MMR with Survivor. So what are you talking about? Like that makes no sense to me. Like the reason that high MMR is even a thing, and the reason that people even talk about it, is because when you are going against experienced players, and I don't like to usually say high MMR and all that type of stuff, because a lot of people get up in arms and they try to like get all the they try to defend themselves because they don't want to seem like they're bad at the game, and I get it. But basically, taking into account that you're in the lowest MMR, right? Because if you're saying you rarely play Survivor, I don't even play Survivor at all. So I can imagine that if I load into a match right now, I'm going to most likely like have teammates that also have no experience playing Survivor, and most likely will make a lot of mistakes and die. That's just how that works. That's literally MMR at work. Like, so what are you talking about? You can't make that kind of claim and expect that to be factual. Like, that just simply doesn't make any sense. Okay, so then they said that this is proven that it somehow has an incredibly high kill rate. Essentially and objectively is a strong killer because... No, that's not how that works. No, that's not how that works. Just because they're able to do well in low MMR doesn't mean that their kill rate is going to increase past everyone else's. It just doesn't make any sense. And he says this is further proven by the release kill rates behavior has given us, where Nurse, the objectively strongest killer, has the lowest kill rates. I think we need to take into account the fact that Nurse is one of the hardest characters to learn. Now, mind you, the data we have with what he's probably referring to, I think is very dated now. If he's talking about the kill rate, like this diagram here, the kill rate from September 2022. This is like years and years ago, okay? So like we can't just go off of this alone. And mind you, this is around the time when Freddy was still terrible. No rework in sight. This is before a lot of killers had released and stuff like that. Like the overall average is 59.1 for this, right? Now if he's going off of this, then already like you're behind, Chief. Like this is just because like they have this Nurses has the lowest kill rate. We have to keep in mind that like Nurse is also simultaneously the hardest killer to learn in the game. Like objectively speaking, like the amount of game sense you need to fully utilize their power is a lot higher than say you would need with Trapper or Wraith or like Huntress or something. So that already is wrong, okay? If he's talking about this one, right? You know, we're just trying to like use different examples. If he's talking about this one, once again, the kill rate for Skull Merchant was probably very high because it was pre-nerf. Also the disconnects, I don't know if those had counted. And even then, it's still a case-by-case basis here because it says all MMR, so we're going off of everybody, like all the brackets, and these are still the highest, right? But this doesn't mean that they're still the highest tier killers. These characters are actually more rare, I would say, and that's probably why their kill rate is much higher when you consider all of the MMR rankings. Because you have an objectively strong killers, right, like Spirit and Wesker. And then you have killers that nobody really goes up against. And then this right here is why you see the data kind of skewed. The data we get is not definitive in that sense, because it shifts. But mainly, we have to take into account that the tier list is still the tier list because we're taking into account what the power could do. So then he proceeds to say the community seriously needs to stop this cat and mouse between killers and survivors. Nobody ever only plays killer, at least the vast majority of players occasionally touch both sides. That's completely wrong, because I'm somebody who literally, like, let me highlight it. Nobody ever only plays killer. That's completely untrue. I only play killer. I've said in the past I've played survivor before, but I do not play survivor at all. I keep saying this. You know, I keep saying this because it's true. So I don't understand, like like how that is so hard to believe. Like I don't touch that's other side. But I've played it enough to be able to at least kind of estimate what they probably are experiencing. You know what I'm saying? Like I've studied the tiles before. I've studied the ways to loop. I've seen Mr. Taterhead videos, and I tried to study it and try to understand like how to you know, play effectively and stuff like that. But I just kind of got bored, so I was like, okay, we won't play it anymore because I'm not having fun. So then he says, 2, the game is one of the most balanced states it's ever been, which my opinion is bad because I like to see a lot of broken stuff on both sides since I view DBD as a party game. So this right here tells us everything we need to know. Okay? By you saying that the game is in the most balanced state and that's a bad thing, you're already telling everybody that you don't know what you're talking about. Because if you're saying that it's balanced, but then you're saying that unknown is overpowered, or at least S tier by what you're trying to get at here, that means you just actively don't know what you're talking about. I hate to say it, but you're not experienced enough, or at least understand the game well enough to be able to make definitive statements like this. Because if you're actively saying that unknown is not just mid, and you're actively saying that Trapper is really strong, and like and you're like everything here is contradicting. And then you're saying that it's the most, like, I hate that it's balanced because you want it to be broken on both ends, and you view DBD as a party game. But DBD is quite literally not a party game. You could view it however you want, but it's objectively not a party game. I can try to at least use maybe Wikipedia here as an example of how to describe this game. But it literally says that Dead by Daylight is an online asymmetrical multiplayer survival horror game. So keep in mind that this game, okay, is objectively competitive, right? So by you stating that you want the game to be broken on both sides and you view the game as a party game literally tells everybody what we need to know. Because ultimately that just says that you don't want to see the game actually be balanced correctly. You don't want to actually see the game be what it should be, which is balanced and fun for both ends. And you already like contradicted yourself from beginning to end, right? Like you're trying to say that Trapper has such an insane kill rate, but you just admitted that you don't even play Survivor games. You're saying that Unknown is crazy, but you literally are sitting here saying that only if the person is like really like experienced with them, then he's not just mid. It's like, yeah, but that applies to every killer in the roster. That's just how that works. Literally, that's just how that works. And then he says 3 killer mains that have never played Survivor in their life that go on social media and cry about the game being Survivor sided while heavily inflated their MMR by using extreme strategies to win every game against survivors that give up on hook, do silly tomes, chase a killer with a flashlight, does everything possible to ruin their chances of winning by not doing gens is incredibly cringe. I don't even know what you're trying to say with that one, bro. So, hold on. So you're saying that nobody ever only plays killer, but then you're saying killer mains that never played Survivor. So then, once again, you're contradicting yourself. And then you're saying that, like, now I gotta take into account that you're saying that it's cringe for killer mains that never played Survivor to go on social media and cry about the game being Survivor sided while heavily inflating their MMR by using extreme strategies. So how would any of those strategies be extreme? Like, I don't understand that at all. That doesn't make any sense either. And you're saying like heavily inflated their MMR, but the thing is that if you actually do that, you're going to literally go up against people that are experienced and want to win the games as well. So by definition, you just contradicted yourself, because this whole point is a non-point, literally, because of the fact that you're saying that killer mains that never played Survivor that go on to say that the game is Survivor sided, but they're saying that, oh, they're just inflating their MMR by going against bad players. It's like, yeah, but once they reach the high MMR, or once they actually reach an MMR where people are more experienced, they're going to say that, because they already went past all of those players that are not as good, or doing whatever the challenges are, or whatever have you, and then they're experiencing those things. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, of course they're going to see it. Actually, the game is ultimately team sided. If you're able to have pre-made lobby and go into matches, you're going to have a competitive advantage. That's just how that works. You can communicate, you can set up your builds a certain way, and be able to synergize each other's perks and have the best possible teamwork against one player who can only chase one person at a time. So that literally, like, by definition, makes complete sense that somebody would make that estimation. That somebody would make that statement, I should say. So he says the equivalent to that would be survivors running BNP every game, gen rushing, then complaining about the game being killer-sided because they ended up in the darkest depths of MMR, where they only face sweaty killers who play to win. But once again, this is what, of course they're going to say that, though, because they're going against the strongest things in the game. Now, as I've said before, the game is not Survivor or killer sided. It's whoever can have a team, which leans toward one side in that way, because only one side can team up. But ultimately, it doesn't mean that the survivors themselves are just specifically it's sided to them. It's just not. It's ultimately based on who can have a team together, and that will guarantee a lot of wins. So he says that this giving up mentality also appears on both sides. I don't know how many killers I've seen DCing who are trying to farm, go onto a corner after bad chase, and AFK, or killers who experience a chase with you for 10 seconds just to immediately give up and leave you for someone else. So I do have to agree that this does occur, you know what I'm saying? Like, it happens on both sides, right? It's the community as a whole have that issue where they are trying to give up or whatever have you. It's just what they do, okay? It's just what they do. We've seen this happen before. It's how it happens, okay? But what I do need to point out is the fact that you're saying killers who experience a chase through for 10 seconds to immediately leave for somebody else. It's called the killer playing the game. Like, they're trying to literally not waste their freaking time in a goddamn chase so that they can try to win. Like, what are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about, bro? Aren't you the same person who just finished saying a minute ago, hey man, even myself, when I rarely play Survivor games, what are you talking about? Like, if you're supposedly only play killer, then you would know that they're going to leave the chase if it takes too freaking long. Like, what are you talking about? Forcing you to sit through the rest of the match holding M1. Like, then don't play Survivor then. Like, what are you doing? What are you talking about? This is a part of the game and incredibly hard to deal with without completely killing DBD entirely. That's just something we have to accept, okay? Okay, I guess. It says, also, if you're saying that a survivor should not give up on Hook because they have to worry about the killer's time, then I think that one is the biggest trash statements I've ever seen. So, instead of taking into account that I'm talking about everybody, which, mind you, in the video that they're talking about, I literally was saying that the entire lobby gets affected. So I didn't just say it was just the killer's time. I said everyone's time. So how do you have a problem with me saying everyone's time is being affected? Dead by Daylight is a 1v4 setting, right? That means there's 5 players loading in at the same time to play a match of their time. So it's not just worrying about other people's time, it's worrying about your own time, because you are loading into the same damn match with 4 other people that also want to play the goddamn game. Like that, we're all going into the match at the same freaking time, dedicating our freaking time of our lives that we're not getting back to matches like these. So by them quitting, you're making the experience worse for everyone else involved, because maybe they don't have much time to play the game. They hop on and then they get this doodle match and you're like, all right. So as you can see, I said everyone is loading into the game. I said you're loading in and quitting with 4 other players, the killer and the 3 teammates you have that all are just trying to play the game, and you're affecting their experience. So how could that be a negative thing? I have no idea. Like, I'm trying to take into account the entire lobby's experience. So the last thing they say is killer mains usually come up with the classic "I am not responsible for your fun" statement, so isn't it extremely hypocritical that Survivors is responsible for yours? I never said it was, so that already just tells me you didn't listen to anything I said in the video. But also, let's keep in mind with like the fact that neither side is responsible for the other side's fun. The only reason that I'm even bringing that point up is that because we have an entitled community that expects the other side to like play a certain way, and I say this as well in my double standard video, that Survivor mains, or at least like from what I've seen personally, right, a lot of survivors are under the impression that if they stop running and they point and they give up, that they should be given mercy. But my counterpoint to that is, if a killer is doing badly, then why isn't the survivor doing anything about that? Right? Like, if the killer is doing badly, no one ever gets hooked, like no one ever gets healed up, like no one ever stops hooking, no one ever stops healing, no one ever stops doing the gens to give them a chance to keep up, or to give them something so that they can at least, you know, get mercy as well. It never goes both ways. That was my entire point. So if you're not understanding that, then I don't know what to tell you, Chief. Like, that's just, I don't know what to tell you, because that you're gonna address my point. At least listen to the whole thing before you respond to it, you know? But that is the video for today. Thank you guys for watching. If you want to watch the original video, I'm going to include that in the description. And support the channel with the links. Subscribe, hit the like button, and also follow on Twitch to watch me play Killer live. And I'm going to see you guys in the next one.